Hi, witches. This is our last live for the Reclaim Your Power series that we did for this fall. And we thought it was very appropriate and timely to create signs for, not for, but that reinforce our own beliefs. And Kat and I each chose a different saying. Mine is from Taylor Swift's song Death by a Thousand Cuts, with a small little change to it that she sang one of the nights, I think in Indiana, but I'm not really sure where I heard it from. But once I heard it, I was like, that's going to be what I say. So we have bought these little sign placard things from Hobby Lobby, and these are sticky little letters that are for scrapbooking, and mine says, "My love, my body, my choice." And Kat's is so cute. I love it. Fuck the patriarchy. So that is what Kat's is gonna say, but we're gonna make this super witchy because right now this looks like it belongs not in our homes. It's lots of pinks and I don't know. It's colorful.
The aesthetic is off a little bit
for what we would do. So we are going to be making these signs now. I had to go and make this all lined up before I got on the live because I'm too.
It's our Virgo rising.
I'm too Virgo to let it be sloppy or anything. Kat's purposeful trail off of the word is amazing, but I had to get like the ruler out and measure my shit out because that's just me. I'm honoring who I am. And tonight we're
I think I forgot the
what?
Mod Podge. Do we need the Mod Podge? We do, don't
we? We're gonna Mod Podge it down.
Excuse me.
These are sticky, but just so they don't unstick themselves. We kind of had to reposition mine. I had to reposition mine a few times, so I've got like ones that are kind of flipping up a bit. But this is just a craft that I will be more than happy to hang in my super witchy office and display something that's personal for me. And that's what this is about, is making things for you that feel personal, and it displays what you believe in so that your house, your home, your office has a vibe that fits with you and your ideals, your morals, like what you want, how you want to present yourself to the world, even if it's just secretly. I have the wrong, huh? It's just secretly.
I'm going to turn the volume off. I just want to...
Hi, Debbie.
I'm going to turn the volume off. Hi, Debbie. Hold on. I'm trying to figure out where the volume's at so I can shut it off. Hold on. I'm trying to figure out where the volume is.
Why is it replaying?
I don't know. I can't remember. How do I turn the volume off on this? I just want to be able to...
You gotta mute yourself. Again, we've been doing this for how long, and we still
somebody
don't
said,
have
get on. Where's the volume?
Is it to just your phone?
Oh, my phone. Yeah,
just to your phone.
There we go.
Okay.
Duh.
Hopefully,
it's the phone in control there. So no, the purpose of being on my phone for this is so that we can see
the comments easier.
See the comments. Yeah, we can see the comments easier.
Yeah.
Although we can see pretty good.
Yeah, I think you
enlarged
it.
Yeah,
I enlarged it. So
maybe I don't need my phone. I'm just going to go with that.
Hi, Selena. Okay, so I want to try to say this name. Macelia. I'm sorry. The hearts. I'm sure I'm not saying the name right, but hi. Thank you for being here tonight. This is probably, since it's the last one, we chose maybe the most bold one. I believe everybody should have their opinions. We just don't always have to put it out there to the public. But you're our tribe, you're our vibe. So we feel like this is an okay thing to do, to say what we truly feel about our stance in the world as women and how we want the goddess to rise to the top. That's basically what this is about. So we, of course, chose I don't have my thing open. Do you have yours?
Yep. So our topic is about boundaries, which is, this is definitely a boundary statement.
Yes.
But so it's about boundaries and setting your boundaries. And we've got like 20 questions that we're going to ask and answer.
Yeah.
Some we might talk about a little bit longer. Some will go really quickly. You guys feel free to comment in the chat if you have, a comment on anything that we're saying. But our first one is an opinion or anything. Yeah, if you want to.
Because this was more about, like, I think where this stemmed from for me to make this specific live is that even going into the military. So let's skip high school and all the bullshit that we have to go through the school system and how we're made to believe we should act, be, say, whatever. But even going into the military as a girl, as a woman, as a young lady, I was told certain things that I was not going to be able to achieve stuff because I was a woman, because I was born with a vagina. So all of a sudden I'm incapable of doing things. And I think I always had it in the back of my head that I really wanted to prove people wrong with that. And that made me a fighter. I mean, that Christina Aguilera song, Fighter, when that came out, that was my anthem for like 4 years, because that's all I wanted to do was push through and show people that does not determine who you're going to be. Like, you get to choose who you're going to be. You get to choose what you're going to do. And if you don't want to, whatever the thing, I was going to say fight, but it's not really about fighting, but you get to choose who you're going to be. So whether that's like, you want to be at home and you get a chance to raise your children and not have to use a babysitter or a daycare, fucking awesome. But if you're also that mom that's hustling and your kids are in daycare and you're, putting food on the table, like, you're fucking killing it. So whatever we become, even though society says that we have to possibly be something else, or we shouldn't speak up, or something's not polite, which is why I love Taylor Swift so much, because she speaks out with that stuff. Like, there's a perception about what we should and shouldn't do, how we should act, being a lady, how we're perceived. And you're not allowed to be, saying like, fuck it and be rude or confrontational. Well, Kat and I don't believe that. We believe in, if you need to be confrontational, then you need to speak up for yourself, So this is all about defending our own rights to have our will be done in the world, the same as anybody else's.
And of course, we had a very sad thing happen last week when we were unable, once again, for our second try, to elect a female president. So we're bummed about that. And that's another thing. It's like, women can do that job probably better than a man. So one day we're going to get that chance. I believe if we keep fighting for it, if we keep trying, we'll eventually achieve it. And so that was the other thing with the boundaries. And there's just a lot of nastiness going on.
There's so much nastiness on the internet.
There's a lot of nastiness going on, and a lot of people got some really strong opinions. And instead of being
hateful,
instead of being reasonable or else just having a discussion, they want to force it onto other people. And here in Florida, we lost we had 2 amendments on the ballot, one for abortion and one for medical marijuana. We lost both of those, which really sucks for us, because, we would have liked to have been able to have those rights.
Yeah.
And I was telling Jamie that, I was, that women just got the right to have a credit card or buy a house in the early 70s.
Yeah.
And I was a teenager then. So, and she was born
81.
In 81. So it's not been very long that we've gained some of the rights that we have. And we're going to have to keep pushing.
Keep your head up, stay high,
Yeah.
Stay enlightened, keep working on yourselves, keep becoming better.
Yeah.
Because it's only if we, what did they say? Lay down and die. If you stop moving. I always love the expression, the rolling stone gathers no moss. Like, the moment you stop going after your dreams and your desires, your goals, things you want in life, like, the world is going to keep moving around you. You're just going to miss out on it. So that's how I feel about choosing what we want for ourselves and not backing down about it. And we don't have to be crazy. We don't have to be out there. I don't need to be on social media. I don't need to tell everybody my everythings, but I have my opinions and I have my people, and that's it. I mean, you do what you can for yourself and others if you're willing to say something or stand up and speak about it. And if you can't, and if you don't want to, like, I'm not going to get involved publicly on something, but I make subtle hints. I can make nice subtle hints about it and be like, oh, this is just where I'm at. This is my journey. And we all get to choose our own journey. And that's what I don't like about what we have going on right now, is it feels like somebody's trying to fucking stop our journey, So
they're trying to silence the goddess, and it will not happen. We will prevail.
Listen,
it's hard road. It's a hard road, and it's, and it's fraught with setbacks, and that's the way that's the way change is.
Change is like that. Yeah. You got to be willing to keep fighting after there's a setback.
Yeah.
So I want to give you guys a book really quick. This is a book we love. It will educate you beyond your wildest dreams. If you listen to it on audiobook, it's like 25 hours. So it is an intense book, but it is called The Alphabet versus the Goddess. And this it is a man who wrote the book, believe it or not, because he was a doctor who was visiting all these ancient sites. And when he went to these temples that are more recent, the history of the temple was always like, this used to be the temple of the, goddess Diana. This used to be the temple of the goddess Isis. And he started to see this all over the world, where the male, like, saint temples now, or something to the Pope, all these male structures now used to be
patriarchal.
Yeah, they used to be for goddesses. And it's like, in his own mind, he started questioning, what happened? Why did that happen? How did that happen? How did that just all over the world, everybody decided to flip that on its head? Like, and out of his own curiosity, he did so much research and then he's written several books about this sort of thing. And it's fucking eye-opening. If you have the time, the desire, and you want to learn about it, that is such a great place to start. To what I feel like it did for me is awaken the goddess within me to understand, like, my history of what I'm representing in this lifetime. Like, maybe I haven't always been a woman, but I'm a woman in this lifetime. And that really gave me something to, I don't know, hold on to, that's been from so fucking long ago. Like, when we think about doing work with our ancestors, okay, we're all, I feel like anybody who lived here before us is technically a human ancestor for all of us. Could have had an impact, wrote something, brought something to light, taught something. Fucking Ptolemy, because he wanted to say that the earth was not the center of the universe. They burned him in the square, and he was a religious man. It's like, so there's people just with knowledge that have gone beyond what society thinks should be done, that also suffered for it. So that's why my fucking sign is my love, my body, my choice. It's all mine, and the fuck the patriarchy. I love it. So we're going to make these signs super witchy. And while we do this, we're going to be answering 20 different questions about setting healthy boundaries, protecting yourself. It's not about being fucking nice. It's not about being mean, but it's about owning your space. I think that's very important for us as women and as witches to do, so that we feel confident within ourselves, within our magic, within our journey, to be okay with what we're doing. So the first thing is, like, what is a healthy boundary in any relationship, whether that's work, family, romantic? What do you think a healthy boundary is? How would you define it, Mom?
Well, I think it is when you are able to express yourself. When you have equal say, like let's say in an intimate relationship, when you're being heard. If you're not allowed to be heard, I feel like that's
where you have to set a boundary.
Yeah, where you have to set a boundary, or I guess I'm just going to read what we have. So healthy boundaries are limits we set to protect our emotional and physical well-being, helping us feel safe and respected. So that's kind of what I was trying to get to. And I wasn't doing a very good job in thinking about in relationships when, you sometimes have a partner who wants to be the one that has the final say. And I think it should be equal. And so as women, I think we have to set boundaries, but it's hard for us because a lot of times we're reliant on the spouse that we have, on our husband or whatever, because we have small children. And so we don't work. And so we feel like we can't set a boundary.
We can't be independent from it.
We can't think. But healthy boundaries honor you, your values, your needs, your personal space, while also respecting others. Because I don't think we should just.
It's not about crushing others.
I don't think we should just run over the top of people either. Yeah. I think it needs to be equal, and I think that's what we're fighting for in this world right now, and that fight's going to continue. Where we're like more equality. Yeah, where we're like, we want a seat at the table. We have an interest in what happens in the world. We have an interest in policies that are made. We have an interest in decisions that are made, especially about our bodies and our lives, things that impact us directly.
Because we're the ones who bring people into the world.
So
I do want to say hi to Veronica, and listen, I pray for anybody who's different than what society is used to. And by the word prayer, I mean like shining beams of light, touching everybody to just hold on to hope and find each other. And in times like this, to gather together and keep yourself safe. Like, one of the things that I love about thinking about what a healthy boundary is that it's protecting our emotional, physical, and making us feel safe. Like, that's what we need, is to feel safe in relationships of any kind, whether we're at work, whether we're with our family, whether we're with our spouse, is to be able to feel safe. Yeah. Debbie, the book's name was the Alphabet versus the Goddess.
And it's Larry Schwein, something like that. I'll go get it if you want.
No, I don't know. I mean, you don't have to,
Okay.
but it's the Alphabet versus the Goddess.
Versus the Goddess.
Yeah. I need the black paint, Mommy, please.
Yeah.
Veronica, it's in the back.
I'm right with you. I wondered if, one of the first things I did was look up which countries you can apply for refugee status if you're persecuted in your own country, because, I don't know that as a woman, I'm not going to feel persecuted here before long. And that's one of the very first things that I looked up after it was clear which way the election was going. But yeah, for all people, women, people of color, people of the different, people who are not white, heterosexual.
It's anything outside the norm.
Anything out of anything what people call
I don't even know.
Norm.
What is the norm anyways? That's what we're always fighting against as witches, is like, this isn't the norm. This isn't mainstream. This isn't what, I don't have the words to describe that, because I truly stay out of these types of conversations because I'm just better off not getting involved. As an emotional person and an empath, I already get too connected to shit that I don't need to spend my energy on. So I try to stay away from it so that I don't even learn the fucking language of the people that I don't want to know about and how they feel. Like, I'm not going to do anything to them. I'm not going to seek them out and try to hurt them, but I don't really want to hear it. I just don't want to hear it from them. Yeah. So.
Okay, so
I think the most important thing about a healthy boundary, you guys, is to clarify what you're willing to accept and not accept. And then you have to stand firm in that. That's it. And it's for your personal space. It's not like in the world. It's not outside your door. It's not necessarily from your, neighbor or something, but somebody getting in your personal space. And we think about that as like a 3-foot bubble. And then the next thing is, how do you enforce the boundary? We're going to talk about that. Does it feel selfish, especially when we're dealing with family, to tell them, like, I don't want to hear about this. I don't want to talk about it. Leaving a conversation and needing to walk away, because I think it's always better to walk away rather than let it escalate too far. So the next one is, why do boundaries sometimes seem selfish and mean? One way or another, whether you have somebody on the other side who's telling you that they don't want to hear about things, they don't want you to do these things, they have a boundary for you, maybe practicing witchcraft. They're like, I don't want to hear about that shit. That journey is fake to me. I don't believe in any of it. What do we do with that? Why does it feel mean? And why can't people understand where we're coming from?
Yeah.
I think it's because society teaches us to prioritize other people's needs.
This is women specifically.
Specifically as women. We're taught to prioritize other people's needs, and that's why we named this, fuck being nice. Is that what we named this?
Something about fuck being nice, yeah.
Because that's how I feel we're taught to be as little ladies. I mean, when I was in 3rd grade, little ladies, when I said that, I was like, I got an image that wasn't me as a kid. I was a fucking tomboy, and I got dirty all the time, and I never brushed my hair. But when I was in 3rd grade,
it was so cute too.
What, my tomboyhood?
Your tomboy phase.
My tomboy phase,
which lasted from
all. I resented getting boobs. I got so mad about that.
Age 4 or 5, maybe 5 for sure. But school, it's probably by the time school started, and then all the way up until about 13 or 14.
Yeah,
and then you had the influence of another girl, and
yep,
you started doing the girly makeup, dressing, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, society does teach us. Oh, look at you!
What?
Wow.
I'm going all black so that I can make the colors pop. I mean, the letters pop.
Yeah.
I think that by prioritizing other people's feelings, needs, wants, that we forget about our own. And I feel like a lot of the women
sacrifice our own.
That's something that is said. I grew up with those words, like women sacrifice for their family.
Well, we do
women make the sacrifice. And I was like, why though? Like, do we have to? Where's that written? Where's the fucking written rule on that? Can't we just do what we want? Which is why I never thought I'd have children, never settle down, never buy into the whole template living thing. I felt like I wanted to be a wanderer, gypsy, drifter all my life. Never settle down and do whatever I want.
And so the long answer is that we get conditioned to prioritize others' comfort, especially in close relationships. However, healthy boundaries are acts of self-respect, not selfishness. They allow us to give freely without resentment. actually enhancing our connections rather than diminishing them.
Right. So talk about healthy boundaries. My 3rd grade teacher was allowed to slap my knee with a ruler if I didn't cross my legs every single time I sat down at my seat. And I am so annoyed that at my almost 44-year-old age that I still find it very hard to not sit with my legs crossed because I was conditioned by somebody for a whole year to sit like that. I didn't ask for that. I didn't want it. I didn't wear skirts. It's not like I was showing off anything, but that was just the rule that she was allowed to impose on me, you know? And I remember from way back then thinking,
and I don't remember this because that would have pissed me off. I'm sure that must have.
I don't know if I ever told my mom that. You know, I just was like, this must be what's normal. This is what we're exposed to.
I don't know that I would have raised hell about that because I think that's fucking bullshit.
Yeah, probably.
So I don't think I knew.
Yeah.
I would be shocked if I knew.
What about knowing if your boundaries are like too strict or, you know, too lenient? I think with strict boundaries, it's like an all or nothing mentality where you tell somebody you're going to do all of this around me or I don't want anything to do with you. You know, rather than trying to see their side or at least talk.
It's like an ultimatum.
Yeah, it's like
You're talking about like an ultimatum.
Yeah. I put too much paint on mine. Do you need black? I've got a suit put. Well, I thought it was going to absorb more.
Yeah, actually, I think I'm going to do my border black. So yeah, I will take.
Can I just like start painting something?
Yeah,
for you?
absolutely.
Are you sure?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
You can do that. I'll just slide it over and you can get rid of it.
My little bit. Is that okay?
What's that?
I got paint on your other purple
part. Yeah, that's
part.
fine. I'll go back and paint over it.
Yeah. I think that you know, how interactions make you feel is how you know whether they're too lenient or too strict. Do you feel like you got respected or do you feel like now you're an outcast and nobody will talk to you? I don't know that necessarily being an outcast is bad, only because in my eyes, like if I'm standing up for what I believe in and other people can't respect that or at least not bring up the topics that would insult me or, you know, things like say derogatory things maybe. I'm trying to think of examples and I don't have them at the tip of my tongue. But that's when I would feel like it's too lenient. And walking away is always a choice. I'm going to keep repeating that because walking away is so much better than standing there with somebody who's not respecting you anyways. There's not going to be a fair fight because they're not actually there to listen. They're not there to hear you. They want to persuade you to believe something else. I think this is another one with boundaries that probably relates more to family, but when we feel guilty about having to set a boundary, like maybe we don't bring up our practice, maybe we don't bring up our beliefs because we don't feel like we can. And so it's, you know, there's guilt around it. Like I'm not able to be my authentic self.
Are you going to
sorry.
keep painting?
Yes. Here I go.
Because I can take over if you want.
No, you can read. You can read.
Or I can get a black.
Have you ever felt guilty for trying to set a boundary and wanting to go back, like to be more lenient with anybody?
Well, yeah, with my kids, because
I
would try to set boundaries and then I would get like the mom guilt, you know, and like, all right. It's get home at 9, and then they would push me to 9:30, then 10 o'clock. And finally I would be like, you know, I would give in and be like, okay, I'll just put my worries aside that something's going to happen to you at, you know, when you're out this late at your age, whatever that age was.
Yeah.
And it was usually because they were young, but yeah, I had problems. I really did. And I probably had problems in my relationships too, setting boundaries, because I almost felt like I didn't know myself, you know, or I didn't know that I could speak up. And so when I did speak up, I usually caused chaos because it would be a breaking point for me where I would snap.
You waited too long.
I waited too long to try to, you know, assert myself and be like, this is not okay with me. And so I ended up in situations where it would get physical or there'd be screaming and, you know, just a lot of ugliness.
Super unhealthy energies.
Yeah, very unhealthy. Very unhealthy. So yeah, I mean, that was pretty much it's hard to, I think that sometimes setting boundaries, we can feel like as women that we're being a bitch.
Well, we get called that if we do.
We get called that. Yeah. Oh, what a bitch.
I got called, what was the name I used to get called that was really weird to me? Because I'm like, what? Oh, I used to get called a tease a lot. And I never understood that because I never teased anybody about any kind of sexual things. And I was young and I hadn't even had sex yet. And I was like, what does that even mean? Why why would I be that when I'm like, I thought we were friends. I thought we could have a conversation. I thought we could hang out and that would be okay. And there was just a point in my life with boys in general that, you know, no, that's not okay. It's not okay to be cute and funny, but then not want to do anything with them. Like, I'm leading them on because I'm
guys are always like,
awesome.
That's bullshit.
Yeah. So that was something that
That's
I
such a crock
experienced
of
younger
shit.
too. So I really did become
And this
bitchy
is
in the military because I was like, they used to say, well, our training was in like a lion, out like a lamb for females. And it was to come in and be really fucking bitchy and mean to everybody and then ease up slowly. I'm like, we have to have an actual tactic to be a female leader. I always thought that was incredible. I'm like, I feel like we should just be ourselves and then enforce the things that have to be enforced and then walk away from the shit that we don't have to do that has nothing to do with us. But the whole,
well, and the crazy, you know, it's not surprise to anybody, I'm sure, that we're still seeing this in our society today in 2024. Because if you look at how Taylor Swift is judged on the things that she does, they call her manipulative. And, she, you know, if she was a man, they'd be calling her a good, you know, a smart businessman or a savvy businessman. If you watch the documentary about Martha Stewart, you'll see that same thing play out where she was a strong woman and people, you know, were like, she's mean. And, you know, I mean, that's what
too opinionated.
Too opinionated. So there's this expectation for women that we're supposed to be soft and sweet and acquiesce and bow down and forego and not have boundaries. Basically, like not have
be okay with whatever's going to happen.
Just take everybody's shit in the world. And you know what? We're fucking tired of it. We're over it. We've been over it for a long time. And
I think there's been a lot of women before me that were over it, and I'm just carrying that on for them.
We are. And the thing about it is like it takes a long time for change. And so we have to persevere and we just have to stay strong and we have to figure out different ways to approach situations so that we can eventually start to change minds and change the world.
Change hearts, not just minds. That's why I put my love first, because I really do try to approach all of these situations with love. And that allows me to see how the other person is going to come at me, because if they're just going to spew angry shit, again, they're not there to listen to you or respect you no matter what you say, no matter how much sense you'll make. They're not there to hear it. That you're not going to change their mind about whatever it is that you guys might have a disagreement about, or that you needed to set the boundary about in the first place. You know, this is why the walk away tool is really good. Just get the fuck away from toxic people.
And sometimes, you know, sometimes it's hard to do. And the walk away thing is really important. I just read a whole Facebook post from a woman who is seeking advice about, she married a guy. She's like, my husband has anger issues. I knew before we got married that he had anger issues, but I thought it was under control. And now that they're married, he's like screaming at the top of his lungs at her. And she's like, all I wanted to do was just explain my side of the story. And it sent him like over the edge where he was like in her face and screaming. And it was really degrading. And she was, you know, and of course, all the witches in the group were like, leave him, you know, leave his fucking ass. But that's not always possible, because as people started giving her suggestions, a lot of them, which were to get the fuck out, which is not what she was asking for, she starts to tell more of the story. So they've been together 22 years. She's 60 some years old and she's disabled. So, you know, there's sometimes when we get stuck in these situations. I was stuck in a marriage and a relationship for like 6.5 years with somebody that I was really unhappy with, and that was verbally and mentally abusive to me and my kids. And I couldn't get out because there was no exit for me at that time. I had to make the exit, or I had to eventually decide that I didn't care if I was going to be homeless and living under a tree. I was done.
Yeah.
And that's the point that I got to. But it took me a long time to get there. It took a lot of abuse. It took a lot of me swallowing the shit that he was doing, or getting into these knockdown, drag out fights where shit got really ugly. And, you know, I mean, physical sometimes, although I can't remember him actually hitting me, although he did smack me one time across the face, backhand me. But, you know, it wasn't like he was like, listen to me, Justin. I
was just going to say that. It's not like he really hit me. He just backhanded me like once across the face for no fucking reason.
No, because I waved at the neighbor and he was insanely jealous, and I waved back at a neighbor man who was out and who waved at me, and he backhanded me when we were in the car.
That's like somebody calling me fat in a relationship, and then when I tried to go to the gym, he's like, "You're fucking somebody at the gym." It's like, okay, so I can't win here. Okay, great, good to know.
So back to the story of the woman in the Facebook post with the husband who's got anger issues. Clearly, once she told the rest of the story, she's kind of stuck. So at that point, if you're stuck in that kind of situation, my response to her was to keep her mouth, to do whatever she had to do to get along while she came up with a plan, and the
silently plotting,
because the plan has got to either be that he's going to get some, and the other thing I suggested to her was when he was calm to try to talk to him and to tell him how this stuff made her feel, and that she wasn't going to put up with it, that she was going to draw the line. She wasn't going to tolerate it.
Yeah.
But really, if she's stuck there, if she's disabled, dependent on him, we get stuck. Women get stuck in these situations. Oh,
if it's in Florida, a lot of states have really good elderly abuse laws. And so if you're over a certain age and somebody's treating you not well, it doesn't matter if it's your spouse, your kids, your boss, there's actually a lot of lawyers who will take on that case because it's elderly abuse. And if she's disabled on top of that, she could get help. People would help her.
Then where are you left? 22 years with the same person.
Yeah.
And
sometimes that's when you have your rebirth. I mean, yeah. I know I've seen women go from being a maiden for 60 years, and then they go through mother to crone really, really fast. It's like that transition of we're these three embodiments, these three cycles of women: maiden, mother, and crone. And when we each take that phase on is different for everybody, and age does not define it. It could, but it doesn't have to. Like, I feel like I've been more crone in my life than anything else ever. But then I go back into the mothering phase because then I take on projects and I nurture people and I do stuff. So even switching between them all,
and this is how we end up, and this is why women are starting to choose not to marry, not to be in relationships. They get divorced after 20, 30, 40 years of marriage because he won't change, he won't respect boundaries. And she finally says, enough.
I've had enough. Yeah.
Enough. And I don't really care I'll deal with whatever comes. And that was my situation with my ex. Is I finally just said, I don't care what happens. I'll live under a tree before I continue to tolerate this shit. I'm done. Because it was just, the buildup of it. It was too much, and it was tearing me down. It was tearing my kids down, especially my youngest one. That was really the catalyst, was something that happened with her. And I was like, he's going to break her spirit. I have to go. I can't allow that to happen. So how can we communicate boundaries without causing conflict? We were just kind of talking about that.
Yeah.
We can choose time. We can choose our time for sure. And we can use I statements and keep the tone respectful and keep our cool. Keep our cool and realize that if things start to escalate, that we need to bring it down or walk away from it, because as soon as things start to escalate and it gets heated, it becomes unconstructive.
It's not productive.
It's not productive anymore. Thank you. That's what I was looking for.
It's not again, if you're met with that anger and hate and violence, nothing productive is going to come of that, because if it's not somebody who's going to be open anyways to hear you out, there's nothing that you can do with them, for them. And you just need to think about yourself at that point. That's why some people think, yourself, your safety, yourself, your safety.
Yep. I think of all the people online who are getting in confrontations with other people and just some really nasty stuff. And I got offline a week ago and have just decided I'm done. I'm not going to watch any of it. I don't want to be. I can't allow it to take
hold of you.
I don't want to be there. I don't want to live in that. And I don't want it.
And it's other people's stuff anyway.
And I don't want it. It'll consume my life and it'll consume all my energy. So, you know what I did? And I don't know if we talk about
So that's actually a healthy boundary that Kat set for herself, is to back away from something that's really unhealthy, that she can't change, that she can't tell the internet to have more of a boundary with her and say like, hey, don't give me these things. Don't show me this. I don't want to hear about people fighting.
Yeah,
I don't
you
want to
can't.
know.
You can
That's a
unfollow
fucking
things.
free for all out
You
there.
can't. You can unfollow things, and I started
Yeah.
doing that, and because I still get on Facebook, but it's mostly to look at Marketplace, see what's on Marketplace, and to go through my witch groups
Yeah.
because I follow some witch groups. But I've also started unfollowing or hiding things where I see political stuff come up, or people are just like they want to, you know,
Spread hate.
Unproductive conversations.
That's such a good way to put it, because what's the argument truly for? What are we changing? That's the way that we change things in this country is by voting, and the vote is there, and that's what happened. And now we have to find something else to focus on. And that's why I say that we continue to rise, educate ourselves, enlighten ourselves, stay true to us. Don't let the fucking people bring you down that are out there being negative and crazy and shit. Create your own healthy boundary for the way you interact with the world that may not see things the way that you do.
So what do we do if someone repeatedly disrespects your boundaries?
So this is probably like work and family more so.
Yeah.
What do we do?
So in short, enforce consequences and limit contact if necessary. So the consequence is, I feel like enforcing consequences almost sounds like something in certain situations. The only consequence is you're going to just not have anything to do with that person.
That is
you're going to limit, and this could be your mother, your siblings, what used to be your best friend, because the world's gotten really nasty right now and people are crazy. So I mean, that's the consequence of that is like, I'm going to exit this situation. So you have to take yourself out of it, and then you got to stick to it.
Remember that the only thing that you're truly in control of is yourself. And that is why by leaving a situation, you keep yourself, your values, your everything safe, because you're no longer stepping into that arena that is never going to treat you fairly or be right for you. You know, whatever that conversation looks like, whatever that family member is. And you have to think about it as it's their loss, not yours. You're not in their face screaming and wanting to deny everything. Unless you are, then don't do that. No. Don't be the other person. There's a take the high road. I don't know what that means even, but stay true to yourself. And if you want to be an enlightened person, and if you're on a spiritual journey, stay on that journey. Don't let the other fucking morons bring you down.
What I decided to do was, I decided to focus. I decided last week that for the next 4 years, I'm going to study astrology. It's something that I've always been interested in since I started reading my horoscope when I was 12 years old or something like that.
So that's where you're focusing your energy.
So
now.
I'm going to spend all my time doing that, and that's going to be something that's good for me because I'm going to learn, and it's going to keep my mind occupied. It gives me something to focus on, and I don't have to slide back into, oh, let me just see, what's happening, because I already know what's happening. In addition to, enforcing your boundaries and getting away from someone, you might need to pick up a hobby that you either had once upon a time, or that you want to, that you've always wanted to do. Maybe you want to learn calligraphy. Maybe you want to learn another language. Maybe you want to plan your retirement or work on your finances, learn how to trade stocks, whatever it is, anything where you're directing your energy into something positive.
Yeah.
And that, I feel like that can be done even if you have to live with the person who just repeatedly disrespects your boundaries, because we can't always leave right away. We don't always want to. Sometimes we want to give them a chance, and maybe they, or chances. I think people can change.
I think people can change.
I think that we can.
You can have rough spots and recover from them. Yes.
I think that if we show people respect, and then we ask them to respect us, if we show people respect when we're asking them to respect us, I think that's really important, because we can't go down to their level of being nasty and then expect them to not be nasty too. So it's like, yeah, we got to do all the work, but what's new, ladies?
I think about this in terms of fairness. It's not about equality, like they need to come this far and you come this far. It's about reaching an end that is mutually respectful and safe for everybody. And even if that just means when we're together, we don't talk about this situation because we're not ready. It doesn't mean that you can't ever talk about it in the future, because guess what? Shit's always changing. This isn't going to stay the same. It's going to keep evolving. It's going to keep growing. And all of these baby steps that we're taking to get to that eventual, putting a woman as president, or, witchcraft is the number one practice in America, whatever the goal may be, it's an evolution, and in evolution, nothing stands still. It's just sometimes we don't see it moving as fast as we would really like it to. That's it. But the fact that we continue to step up, and stand out, I didn't plan that well, but to be seen for who we are, and we're not going away. It's like, I'm not going to force you to like me, but I'm also not going away. I'm just going to find my tribe, and we're going to build a community away from you where we're safe and we respect each other, and you can fuck off. That's it.
And I think a community is a good thing, to find people who support you, and will respect your boundaries and understand you. And okay, so we already did that one.
I was looking at, can setting boundaries make your relationship stronger? Yes, because that's where you can find mutual respect within each other. Is like,
I think that has to happen in the beginning. If you go into it and you try to 5 years later start changing the dynamic of the relationship, it's going to be really difficult. So
I just think there's always growth. Just say, like, okay, am I the same as 5 years ago? No, I'm not the same as 5 years ago. So I agree with that statement that it should be upfront. But when I got with my husband, 10 years ago, did I know that this kind of thing was ever going to come up? Could we have ever talked about it? Number one, we don't talk about politics anyways. He's like, you do whatever you want. It doesn't, you be you. He wants me to be the most authentic me that I can be, which is why I feel so loved, and I'm very grateful for my life. But we don't have to talk about things that we don't agree on. It's just like, we have our differences in opinion, and there you go. Why you don't have to agree with everything that your partner agrees with. I didn't want to say believes in. Thank you. Oh my God, I was struggling.
Yeah.
But being able to come to a place where you just have an agreement of something, like even it's agree to disagree.
Yeah, there was a famous political commentator couple, Matlin and Carville, James Carville and Mary Matt. Yeah. So they were on opposite sides. This was probably 20 years ago.
Opposite sides of what?
They had opposite political views.
Oh, they were a political thing?
And their jobs were to talk about politics. That's what their jobs were. They were commentators.
As a couple?
No, individually. And then they got together, but they were like on opposite ends, right, of the spectrum. But they managed to have, they're still married to this day. And they were able to do their jobs and have their beliefs, but then come together as a couple and respect each other and leave that shit that would obviously cause conflict, because they could either discuss it in a rational manner, or they just didn't discuss it at all. I don't know, because I don't know that I've ever heard him talk about it, or I've never heard them talk about it, but I know this because I know who they are. And it's like,
people find a way.
Yeah. So you can find a way to,
we forgot all the Grammy stickers.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Were we supposed to do that first?
No. You put it on top of the paint. Even though my paint's
the stickers are right over there.
Oh, okay.
We got lots of stickers. I'm gonna need numerous coats of paint, because mine's not black. So my white is coming through.
Oh.
But that's okay. Do you want some stickers?
I would like them, but I don't want to make you get up and go get them.
It's just right here. Okay, so since we just talked about do this in the beginning.
The best way to start setting boundaries in a new relationship, be open about your values early on.
What
I think about this is, like, when you're in your young years, whatever that looks like for dating, you don't even know who you are yet. And I think that gets all of those ideas, questions, thoughts, they're not at the forefront of the mind. It's like, what are the things that bring us together in the first place with somebody? Is it our morals and what we think we want for our life? I don't know. Everybody creates their relationships differently. But for me, when I was younger, it was like, what was more convenient? What fit for the time? And always a couple years later, guess what? Those motherfuckers ain't fit no more, because I changed, I grew, and they didn't. And I had to let go a lot in my life. Like, I just had to know this isn't right for me anymore. This person is not going to be at the level I'm at. And I don't really want to stick this through. And I'm not married, so I can walk away and be like, listen, it's not me, it's you, and I just need to go.
I think one of the mistakes that I have made is that I really like the person a lot. So I sort of don't speak up on anything if I'm not honest. That's the truth.
You hide
that's
parts
honest,
of yourself.
That's the honest truth.
Okay.
Is I hide things about myself because I want the relationship to keep going, and I worry that if I make whatever belief it is known or how I feel about a certain situation known, that it'll be the end of it, and they'll be like, "Oh, fuck it, I can't be with you," right? And
sad.
So I do what women did for so long. I keep my fucking mouth shut, and
it doesn't serve anybody because it's not like she's going to change who she is.
Yeah.
And eventually it will come out. So letting people know how you feel about certain things that are absolutely not bendable, that you're not going to change on. Non-negotiables, that should really be done up front. Right. I urge everybody to do that up front, to talk about it.
Finances is such an important thing to get clear on when you're going into into a new relationship. Because if your values, there's certain things that if your values don't match in a relationship, it's going to be really hard for that to be sustainable. And finance is one of them, because people have different ways that they think about money. And so you need to be honest about that. And you need to have shared values, or at least respect each other's values. So be open about your values and needs early on. And that's the other thing too, needs. Like, what do you need out of this? And I just think we've been sort of trained as women to accept what society says, which is you just be quiet, have the babies, take care of the kids, take care of your husband. First of all, let me just point this out. How often do you see articles for men about how to catch a woman? Oh, here's all the things, how to dress for the guy, how to do this Cosmopolitan is full of these articles about what women need to do to change themselves to catch some guy. You don't see that in men's magazines. They never, ever, ever say that. So we, as the society has told us that that's our job, right? Get the guy, get married, have the kids, all that stuff.
Don't become a they had
spinster.
They had words for women who weren't married to a certain age or something like that.
Spinsters, shit. Spinster was considered old, but a long time ago. And when I say a long time ago, this is when fathers were deciding who their daughters were married. If you were 25, you were considered that was it. You were going to be alone forever. You were never
damaged goods.
You were never going to find a husband because
say?
Nobody would want you because you're too fucking old. Come on, give me a break. Are you fucking kidding me? So that's the kind of,
I think we're still fighting against perceptions like that, possibly, or we still haven't gotten that all the way out of our system of what is the role for women? What is the role for men? Is there something that should say that there are roles for us, that we can't fucking be different, that we can't have different roles? I know a long time ago, can't even think of it. Remember Mr. Mom with
Michael Keaton?
Yeah. See, I feel like that was something that was trying to lean in towards what progressiveness looked like, where let's think outside of the normal societal roles of what a man or a woman can be. And that, I don't know, it was cool for a second, and then they stopped doing stuff like that, kind of, I think. I don't know.
It's going to take a long time for things to change, and we're going to have to keep on
keeping on.
We're going to have to keep on pushing our agenda forward in a way that we can get people to accept. So it can't be just fight, because nobody's going to, it's got to be almost like a changing people's minds, like letting them see that a woman can be president and she can handle the pressures of it. And somebody wrote about the prime ministers, lots of female prime ministers. I mean, Angela Merkel, she was a prime minister of Germany. You got other women that are running countries. So we know, but eventually America will get there, and we just have to keep
Do you know what I remember?
Working toward that.
Just to bring up an old thing, but I remember, I don't know where I was in my life or like stationed, or was I don't know where the fuck I was. But didn't Hillary Clinton run for president?
Yeah.
Okay. I remember wherever I was during this time, it could have been that I was deployed to either Iraq or Afghanistan, or I was newly back from there or something, but I've never really much paid attention to politics. But I remember when Hillary Clinton ran and everybody kept saying, if we get everybody, I remember the men around me saying in my workplace specifically, if we get a woman president, the whole world's going to laugh at us. And I thought, why? Why would the world laugh at us? I don't, like, what makes you think that that's fucking funny? I just remember hearing that and thinking, oh, wow, we've got a long ways to go. That's because
when you think about American culture, look at, if you've ever watched the series Mad Men, this is how things were in the 60s.
Okay.
We're not that far removed from it. We're not that far removed. I mean, when was it? Women couldn't even sit on juries until 1977 or something like that. Maybe it wasn't 77, but it wasn't that long ago. So we're in the infancy of women. It doesn't feel that way because some of us have been around, for a little while,
seen a lot of shit.
So it doesn't feel like we're in the infancy, but when you look at actually how long it took us to get the right to vote, the right to get a credit card, the right to get our own, to own a house, the right to sit on a jury, to have a say in legal matters. I mean,
enlist in the military. I mean, my first ship in the Navy I got there in 2002. I was on the Essex in Sasebo, Japan. And on that fucking ship, I got there and there had only been women on that ship for 3 years. And this was 2002. So like the year I joined the Navy in 99, that was the first time this boat of 1,500 guys, they got one, I almost said shipment of women. One shipment of women in. I don't know, one influx of women Navy personnel, and it was 100 of them to a ship of 1,500 men.
Can you even imagine the women that had to deal with those guys?
Do you want to know the fucked up part? Because this is what kind of set up the whole, like, why women can get bashed sometimes in the military for getting pregnant. All but 3 women in those 100 got off of the ship pregnant. Like, okay, all right, there's some kind of statistical thing. The ship made the Navy Times because there was so much sex being had on the ship. So it was like the Navy almost felt like they made a mistake putting women on ships because of that one statistic. I said, what I thought, right? Because I
like good dick and I cannot lie when the big dick goes on by.
Okay.
I mean, come on.
We're not PG, but I'm not sure we're that far, Mom.
Well, we are kind of like,
it's that one song.
The vagina starts talking. It's like you see a guy and you're like,
no. It's like Hawk Tuah said, what's good for the whole ain't always good for the soul. So,
oh God, yeah.
Listen, sure. It's more about the fact that what each of us do, we represent our gender, and so we have all kinds of women that do all kinds of.
I don't want that responsibility.
But it's true. Just like as an American, when you travel to another country and people realize you're American, you are literally representing all of America. We represent each other in the way that we act and behave and do things and treat people, which is why we're all about empowering women and teaching them that they don't have to put up with shit, but they also don't have to be fucking crazy like psycho women, because we've all had those friends that do that type of shit. It's about being respectful in both spaces, and holding your own to that. Why'd you take my glue away?
Oh, I'm sorry. You're still gluing? I'm so sorry.
I'm trying to get the gold down, but I put so much damn black
Okay,
paint.
So we've been talking a lot about women and relationships, but let's switch to another topic that's close to our hearts.
What?
Setting boundaries with family members.
Oh, family.
Without feeling guilty.
It's tough.
Oh, man.
You just want to be so accepting, and you want to be accepting of them, and you really want them to accept you. You're like, we're family. Why can't this just work? I think it's tough. I think it's very difficult.
Yeah. So boundaries preserve relationships. They don't harm them. Although it takes us a long time, usually like 30, 40 years maybe to figure that out. And by that time, there's already a lot of history, which makes it tough. But good thing to know for our younger women who are listening potentially to this is that, start young with this. If you've already got problems with family members that are crossing your lines, it's time to speak up and stop tolerating it. And then, by not tolerating it, that is distancing yourself or pulling away or saying, okay, I can't talk to you or be around you when you're like this because it's unhealthy for me.
So what it looks like to set a boundary and then enforce it, even though that sounds like you're being really confrontational, is just that whatever you decide you're going to do, and you tell them, you're like, if you continue to treat me like this, I am going to, whatever you're going to do, you're going to not come to family dinners, you're going to not hang out with them, you're going to not call them and talk to them. Whatever it is that you want to say is your boundary of like, if you continue to do this behavior, I am going to be doing this behavior over here. So that's what you can control, right? You can ask them to respect your boundary, but then you've got to do whatever the exit is for that.
And it's hard to do that. Let's admit it's difficult to do that because a lot of times we may be close to somebody that's just not got that's maybe old school and they're like, what's the problem?
Can you remember any boundaries that you set that you weren't necessarily like proud of later?
No, I can remember ultimatums that I issued
that's a boundary in disguise. Yeah.
That I thought, I could have handled that better. An ultimatum is not a positive thing.
It's an all or nothing thing. That's what that is.
It's like, fuck you and you too. No, I can't think of anything right off the top of my head. Can you?
Yeah. When my sister was in a not so healthy relationship, I used to get pissed at her for going to see the guy and I wanted her to stay with me. And I remember one night we were talking and she's, he probably texted or something. I was like, don't go. I was like, please stop going back to that. And I got so mad at her that we ended up having a huge fight in the driveway. And then I basically screamed at her while she was leaving my driveway. I was like, if you leave here right now, I am never talking to you again. Like, I can't do this with you anymore. I can't watch you keep going back. And that had nothing to do with my boundary and everything to do with trying to control her. So that's how you could see an unhealthy boundary with family where you're telling them to change themselves and it's not about you. It's like, you just want better for them, but that's not, you can only control what's going on with you. So of course we didn't talk for, I don't know, a couple weeks. And then I felt fucking horrible because I was like, what's she been going through? What's happening? She needs me in her life. I need to be there with her to support her. So I had to readdress my role of what is my role for my sister? What do I want to be for her? And what I wanted to be was support, an ear, a shoulder. Like, I didn't need to place judgment on her and tell her what to do with her life or her relationship. I really just needed to be there for her. And that was very, very, very hard. Very hard.
It's very hard because you have to zip it.
You do. Because I didn't want her out of my life.
You have to zip it.
Yeah.
And that's tough. Yeah. I remember that actually.
You do? You weren't here yet, but she must have called you.
I remember hearing about it.
Yeah.
No,
she called you. I got told on. What's new?
So the guilt that we feel around this often comes from society's expectations to prioritize family above everything.
Loyalty.
Yeah, family. Like family is your ride or die no matter what. Yeah. And I can tell you right now from somebody who has been estranged from her family, most of my family, not all of them, but most of my family for, a good portion of my life, including now.
3/4 of my life.
That when your family is detrimental to your mental health or they don't support you, or they make you feel bad about the choices that you made, or they're judgy, like super judgy and putting you down and stuff like that. That's not good for you. And it's okay to walk away from that. And it's okay I know some people believe that no matter what, you stick with your family. And I don't think that's the healthy view. In my opinion, that's not the healthy view. It hasn't been for me. And I know I needed to break away from mine and go my own way. And that, that involved me moving across the country. And so,
yeah. Because you needed to find where you would feel supported and you could grow in a healthy environment. I think that's what this comes down to when we are confronted with people, places, spaces that are unhealthy for us and that can't respect who we are and what we're trying to do with our lives. that you have to get out of it in order to find a place where you can grow, because otherwise you start suffocating and your light goes out and you become like them, bitter, angry, mad, judging everybody else and not living the life that you really want to live.
Well, you stay in that low vibration too,
Yeah.
because you're always, it's always like chaos, turmoil, hurt, just a lot of conflict, and that's not good for us.
Because boundaries are not about controlling others. Like I explained with the situation with my sister, the boundary that I was trying to set, that ultimatum kind of was really about me trying to change her behavior and please me with that, which is not what love is. Instead of me saying like, if we're going to talk, it's too triggering to hear about like the relationship that I don't agree with, but we can talk about anything else. Like you're setting a boundary around a topic. You're setting a boundary around a time. Like I'm not going to keep meeting up with you in bars and watching you drink or whatever. And that's not my sister. I was just trying to figure out like something else. You have people who deal with addiction. It's like, I'm not going to meet you at a bar, or I'm not going to talk to you when you're drinking, but I will talk to you anytime you're sober. I will be there for you. Like, so you set the boundary that you're comfortable with. And that's instead of trying to control them and say, you need to stop drinking or I won't be in your life anymore. Give it some leeway, not the all or nothing ultimatum thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's being supportive and keeping your boundaries intact.
So here's something. So over time, your boundaries can change.
They do. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a super funny one.
Go ahead.
I have a kitten living in my house right now. All right.
You have a kitten living in a house with
my
a man
husband
that hates cats.
My husband literally hates cats. I mean, it stems from his family, and all of them thought cats were like useless, worthless creatures that didn't need anything. And so it's really weird. So he was never around cats. He was just like, yeah, I don't like cats. But that's what his dad would say, and that's what his dad would say.
And his mother still says that.
His mom, yeah, like she's like, cats. Like, they just don't like them. Like, they're the fucking best. I love cats. I love dogs too.
They're from Iowa, and you didn't really have pets indoors.
Cats indoors?
You didn't have pets. I mean,
what about
farmers,
dogs?
Not even dogs. The dogs and the pets stayed outside. I mean, Dennis was also, my old boss was raised in Iowa. It was like their pets. They never had dogs. They never had dogs in the house. The dogs stayed out in the barn.
That's crazy. I think if you have a pet, it belongs in your house with you. It's like a family member.
In bed with you, actually.
In bed, watching the same show you are and reacting just the way you
Spooning.
are. Are you big spoon or little spoon tonight? So
go ahead and tell the story.
Over the years, my husband, when we first lived together, I had 3 cats and they all lived indoors, and they had like a cat door they could come in and out. And he never liked it because they would do things like get on his pool table and leave hairballs places and just, they would kill stuff like lizards or palm rats or whatever. But now in this house,
leave the pieces.
And so when we moved into this house, we just kind of agreed like, okay, the cats can have the entire basement floor, which is almost as big as our regular house. And it was air conditioned and all of that. And he's like, no cats upstairs. And I was like, you know what? That's fine. Cause like cat hair and like food and just all the things, they weren't bad. They didn't like jump on counters and shit like that. But I said, okay to that. And now I wish I hadn't. And my sister is staying with us right now while a house is being remodeled, and she has a kitten, and I fucking love this kitten. She is so pretty and cute. Oh my God. Her story is amazing. We named her Stevie Onyx. But long story short, now my husband has a kitten in the house and he plays with her. He still tries to be like, come on, cat. I was like, her name's Stevie. Like, he's still trying to be anti-cat, but his boundaries are softening. So that's what we were going to talk about. It's like, what if over time your boundaries change? Yeah. What do you do? How do you handle that?
Well, and they
can. They should probably.
They probably should as you grow and evolve.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of some that I probably, if I knew now, or if I was as evolved now as I wasn't when I was younger and like my first marriage and stuff, I know better now than to use ultimatums to try to get some, your boyfriend
to get a result.
To get a result. It's not an effective approach. So I would try something else. So that's something that I would definitely like. That's the line that I tried to draw, and it was the all or nothing line. And I realize now that how unhelpful that is, and what that does to the other person. It's like disrespectful to the other person, because you're saying, it's basically you're saying I'm going to control you. And listen, by the time we're about 12 years old, we start bucking people trying to control us. And then by the time we're by the time we're 18, we're like, I'm an adult now. I'm going to do what I want, as we should be able to do what we want. We're adults.
Yeah.
You got to take care of yourself. So, all right.
Well,
so how do I keep leading right into the next thing? Because the next thing is how do I enforce boundaries without seeming controlling?
Yeah, that's
and I just talked about that. It's really boundaries are not. It's not about just your respect, people respecting you, but it's you respecting the other person. Because there may be a situation where that other person is unable to respect your boundaries because of their beliefs, of their value system, and in that situation, you've got to make a choice. Are you willing to bend? Are you willing to move your line back?
Bend the knee.
Are you willing to move that line back and accept some of what you didn't think you could accept?
Yeah.
You have to make that choice.
Yeah. That's I feel like we just talked about that on our podcast with cheating and stuff. How do you get past some of these things that were an absolute no for you?
Yeah.
And then how do you recover from it if things have been done? It's, each story is personal and unique in its own way. And the people involved have to talk about it. I think that the biggest key here is open communication. Be honest. But in honesty, you don't have to scream and fight and call each other names and say you're stupid and you don't understand.
You still need to show respect for your fellow human being.
The moment you're ready to scream, walk away and take a break.
Yeah.
That's just what I would say. What is our next one?
So here's an example. To avoid seeming controlling, focus on what you need for your own well-being rather than dictating others' actions. I think that's a really good point.
Yeah.
Instead of saying, you can't call me at night, say, I need quiet time in the evening. This way the boundary reflects your self-care and not your desire to control another. And it's a lot easier for another person to accept that kind of a statement is I just need quiet time. I need an alone time. Nighttime is when I decompress, or after 8 o'clock is when I'm doing meditation or whatever.
Yes.
Then for you to say, don't call me, don't call me. That's pretty harsh. So that's a respect thing, right? Talking to people like you care about them and not like they're just some,
inconvenience.
Stranger off the street where you're like, get the fuck away from me. Okay. How can I balance being supportive and keeping my boundaries intact?
That's what I said about
that was with your sister.
Yeah, my sister saying I'm willing to be there for all other parts of your life, but in this one topic, because we both have strong beliefs on it, let's just not talk about it. Let's not bring it up. Let's do a truce where it's this is the ground we're not ready to walk on yet, you know? And if it gets brought up or if somebody hints about it, it's that is the area we don't go into.
Yeah.
That way everybody's being respected and heard, and yet you're not entering a place where there's going to be a huge argument.
And this is a part where it's up to you to be able to be honest and to be able to say in a respectful and kind and loving way what you need out of this, what your needs are, not what you want the other person to do, but what your needs are.
Yeah. What would be a need you would tell somebody right now if you were in a relationship? I need my space. You need to go home tonight.
I don't want to share.
We've been talking about how Kat's very, very happy in her single life with her pup. And she's like, I'm not sure if I'm ready to share my space.
Yeah.
I get that.
I don't know. I mean, I get if things are out of order, my house is a certain, I had this, how sometimes something happens and you play a scene in your head, some imaginary scene that'll happen in the future. And I had this happen to me recently where somebody came into my house and was like, wow, look at all this stuff. And
not stuff.
Look at all this shit. Because my house is decorated everywhere. So it's a whole witchy vibe. There's shit on every fucking wall. And I love it. This is my vibe in here.
She has a witch cave. You walk in here, everything, it's dim. But
if I had a man come in here and be like, oh my God, look at all this shit in here, I would just be like, you need to leave now.
Yep.
That's it. Bye.
Can't handle that kind of language. Oh no. Oh, there's 2 of them.
And I don't want to change that. So if I was to get involved with
you
somebody,
don't change your decor.
I feel like I would have to start making adjustments in my house because you'd have to, let somebody into your life, and I don't really want to.
Why are they going to come live with you?
I don't really want to do that. I want my space. I want
Yeah.
my space so that I can do what I want to do. And I have dominion over everything in here. That's it.
You're queen of this place.
All right. What was your question?
I don't remember. Me? I said a question? I don't remember.
All right. Here's the next one. What are some signs that boundaries are being crossed? Oh, God, there's so many of them.
I think the best way to know your boundaries being crossed is the way that you feel.
Yeah.
After an interaction. That's it. Just like you talk to somebody about something and you walk away going like, oh, God, is it.
What an asshole.
Yeah.
Or you resent them. Resentment that's something I dealt with for such a long time.
That you resented somebody?
Or just, this is so exhausting. Right? If you feel like that, that's a sign.
So I would base it on how you feel. If you want to know, it's how you feel. You're like, that was fucked up. I'm not sure. Oh, okay. So I have one that probably happens to a lot of us women. And I feel like there's nothing that I can do about it. I can't change what the guy is going to do or say. And it makes me leery when I go into public that somebody will say something to me, because I guess it's happened a lot. And I'm sure every woman on here probably feels the same way. Walking into fucking Publix the other day, and there's a guy who's on like an e-bike, and he's packing his groceries on his e-bike, and he's, getting ready. And I go across the crosswalk, and I garden a lot. I am in workout clothes, and I look dirty, and my hair is crazy all the time. I don't really go out like this. You might not. I mean, I look pretty much the same, but again, I'm not this clean and proper when I go out in public. No,
don't use the word proper.
I don't. Well, like
put together.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I might show cleavage because I got a sports bra on and it's like a uniboob, or, when I think like you're going out to eat, you dress like you're going to a restaurant, where I'm dressed like I just crawled out of a goblin hole because I've been gardening. I don't know. So this guy on his fucking e-bike is watching me walk across the crosswalk, and he just goes, how you doing? And I'm like, like, I didn't need that in public right now. Like, I don't ever need it, but I just definitely don't. And he was so loud with it that I know other people heard, and I wondered how many other people felt uncomfortable for me in that situation. And that's a boundary cross for me. I really wish I could be like, fuck you. Like, who taught you? What kind of man are you? Like, I could have laid into all the things in my thoughts. Right? What would your mother say about this? I don't know.
You kiss your mother with that mouth?
Yeah. Like, would you let somebody treat your daughter that way? Like, I just don't know. But those are the things that happen to me where I'm like, the only thing that I can do is literally give it no energy. I am stone cold. Like, I'm fucking deaf. I don't hear you. You don't exist in my mind. And yet it has replayed in my mind, unfortunately. But that's how I act in the moment. Because I'm like, I just want to bounce all that back at that person. Why did that guy? What was the question that brought that up? Signs that your boundaries are being crossed,
or was it how do you explain boundaries to someone who doesn't understand them? Had I read that?
No,
one yet?
Not yet.
Okay, so that's our boundaries being crossed.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a good one because that doesn't happen to me anymore, but it used to happen to me. It happens to all women.
It does.
Up to and probably past a certain age, depending on the dude, I guess, depending on his minutes.
I don't know.
I don't know what they're thinking when they do things like that. Do they actually think that they're going to get a positive response from you? Or is it just like, it's just like Neanderthal instincts and they can't help themselves?
I don't like hearing that. I can't help myself.
Well,
I can't help that I'm messy and I drip food on my shirt. Maybe like I try to be more neat, but I can't help my fucking mouth and my behavior. I can't elevate myself. I can't learn to treat people.
You can help yourself.
Yeah, they can all help themselves.
You just don't care.
This is what I think about people who cross boundaries often and who act like that, is that nobody's ever called them on their shit. They've never been put in their place. They've never had the consequence of paying for their boundary crossing. That's kind of what I think. So,
okay, next. How do you explain your boundaries to someone who doesn't understand them? Do you bother?
Yeah, I guess that's a choice. Like, do you? I think you only do that with people that you truly care about, and the rest of the people.
Well, you do that in relationships that you care about. If you want to maintain the relationship, then yes, then you need to try to find a way to explain to them why this is a boundary for you, and
like, hey, why this is not okay,
and how it how it, and again, keeping the focus on yourself.
Yeah.
This, I need this because it makes me feel safe, or whatever the situation is, or I feel secure. When you drain our bank account on Friday because you go out, I feel really worried about it. So that's like a boundary for me. And if you do it again, I'm taking all the money.
I have a terrible one. You guys want to hear some tea from my old life? Like back when I was with my son's father. Oh my God. Not that I think my kid will ever watch this.
They're thinking with their brains. Veronica says, you're right. They're thinking with their third eye.
Can somebody put in the fucking eggplant emoji, please, for us? Like where, I don't even know. But you know what? So this is a side note from the story I was about to tell, but that's why my sister and I believe that we had 3 boys, is because we want to raise the boys to respect and understand women and like what they go through. I think that they can see the world through our eyes, and they're going to be a different kind of man. And that, because we're like, man, we didn't get girls to like empower them and push them forward. My mom had 2 girls, and like that's what she did for us, is made us feel really empowered. All boys. Yeah. I was boyish.
I know.
But for our boys, that's what we think the purpose of that happening is that
I got 3 boys in my grandsons.
Yeah, in the grandsons.
But we need to move it along because it's 8:16 and we're still on number.
It's our last one. Like
no, it's not. We're on 17.
It's our last live.
Oh, it's our last live.
I know it's going to be long. You guys pop out anytime you need to. Wait, I have a horrible story of tea.
Oh, okay.
About my son's father. Because you said the draining the bank account thing.
Yeah.
When we were very young and we had just had our son and we were struggling, like I cleaned houses on the weekends. I worked at a real estate office for the broker.
I remember that.
Yeah. And he worked at motherfucking Waffle House at night. So we traded day job, night job. Yeah. One day he comes home with a set of fucking fake gold teeth. I was like, what is that? What are you doing? What? And he took $200 from our bank account that like we're struggling. I'm working 2 jobs on the week. I'm cleaning people's houses. Okay. I'm a skilled person. I was in IT in the Navy, but I have to clean houses because I need the fucking money. I need a job. And he went and bought himself a gold grill at the fucking mall of all places and just was sporting it around like it was fine. And that I knew right then, like, this is going to be the end. I can't stay with somebody who's so incredibly irresponsible. So yeah, draining the bank account, buying shit you don't need when we're trying to put diapers and food with our kid. Like, fuck. Yeah. Boundary crossed. That was when the silent plotting of the exit plan.
Yeah.
Knowing that you're leaving. You're like, yeah, okay.
Well, I had my ex take $300 out of my bank account, and I'm like, because I don't know if I gave him access to my debit card or what, but maybe
then forgot to revoke it.
I must have. But one time he just takes $300 out, and I'm like, and when I saw it, I was like, and he didn't tell me. I had to discover it, and I was so upset because, I was living like basically paycheck to paycheck. Not like he was contributing anything. And it's like that's like a car payment, dude. What the fuck are you doing? So needless to say, that was the end of his access to my bank account. And I really resented that. I resented that he thought that was okay. And I guess maybe I didn't set the boundary of like, don't take more than $50 or something. I don't even know.
This is where I feel like explaining boundaries to people. It's like, where's the fucking common sense for that?
I don't know.
Like, where was the common sense for diapers and baby food? Gold teeth at the mall. I'm trying to weigh it to make it make sense to me. Who are you trying to impress with your gold teeth? Why do you have them? Are you going to become a rapper?
Veronica's ex got a tattoo with their grocery money.
Fuck. See? Men and their eggplants. I just don't know. I don't know what they think with.
It's a fucking epidemic with this shit, man. We have to raise the next generations better.
I really thought it was a young thing, but I see this in like 40-year-old men that are still single, living at home.
40. Yeah. No, mine was 40 when he was doing that shit.
Yeah.
Let's see. How can I set boundaries without pushing people away? Oh, I think that comes with that is when we are kind and compassionate and empathetic, and we treat them and we treat them with respect. I mean, because if if you do the ultimatum thing where it's this my way or the highway, that's going to push people away. Even if it doesn't push them away right then at that time, that will eventually break down the relationship. Because nobody wants to be told that. Nobody wants to feel like they don't have a choice in the matter, or they don't have a say in the matter.
Right. We don't want to go from being the ones who are being sort of mistreated to then trying to mistreat the other person and then justifying it or trying to set something on them.
You can feel like it's okay to do that, because probably if you're anything like me, you took it for a long time and you didn't say anything, and then you got pissed. And then things changed.
And then they learned who they were fucking with.
And then all of a sudden there was a change in the dynamic.
Yeah.
And they didn't like it. So yeah. Let's see. Emotional boundaries and why they're important. What if we've not been talking about emotional? Is that different than what we're talking about?
Well,
emotional boundaries protect your mental and well-being. I think this is like the where you were talking about somebody who you care about, who's either an alcoholic or a drug addict. We got a lot of these people who
you love
I can't,
them and they're hurting themselves.
They're hurting themselves, and it's hard to watch. But you can.
I will say that I punished somebody with a boundary because I was really upset that they went to jail for something. And at first I was like, I'm gonna be there. I'll take your phone calls. It was a family member. It's like, I'll be there. I'll take the phone calls. But then I got to this point where my boundaries changed, and I just got really upset with it. And I was like, you know what? You didn't fucking think about the family when you were doing whatever. I don't need to think about you now that you're paying for that. And I probably didn't speak to that person for maybe a year, and they asked about me, messages were relayed, and I had to take that time out to be like angry and emotional over it, and then eventually calm down and kind of grow up and say, well, how long am I going to let this persist? And does this really benefit me, or am I just trying to punish them? You know what I mean? So we got to look at it emotionally. How much can we handle versus, how much can you also be there and love somebody and support them through difficult things or hard stuff? Like that's what I was thinking, the addiction, or, somebody commits a crime, drinking and driving. And
they lose their license because they got a DUI, and now you got to drive them around for a fucking year.
Whoa, they can take the bus. I mean, if people don't pay for what if they don't not like the consequences,
there's not actually public transportation everywhere, Jamie.
They should have thought about that before they drank and drove. I'm so harsh. I hold people to way too high of standards.
And these are the things that go on in our mind when we're wrestling with these situations. Yeah. It's like, you should have thought about that. You could take the bus. Because you're pissed off because now you're inconvenienced and they're crossing your line and taking up your time and sucking the energy out of your life.
I didn't plan to be driving back and forth to 2 jobs every day.
So there's a process of going through that. Okay, This is our last one. How can I handle feelings of anger and resentment when my boundaries are violated? Let's see. I was just thinking.
Honest opinion, and then we can give something that's more structured. Because I can feel Kat thinking like a Scorpio over there.
Yeah.
Well, it's really tough. What's the first thing that comes to mind? It's like basically what we just said.
I have knee-jerk reactions where I'm liable to, if it's the wrong time, the wrong thing, depending on what the boundary is, I might lose my shit for a minute.
And especially if Mercury's in retrograde, don't even let some shit pop off then. Because then you're really not good at communicating and you might really say some shit.
But I think this goes back to what we were just talking about. Yeah. Sometimes we need this period of processing through things where we don't react to it and we sort of like have the emotional breakdown or whatever it is, or these conflicting thoughts that go with like, you have the conversations in your head where it's 2 people talking to each other and it's really you talking to the other person, but it never really happened. Am I the only crazy person that does that?
Yes.
And
all of us are super normal. We never do anything like that. No.
You have this whole conversation, we go back and forth and you imagine what you would have said or gonna say or whatever. But there has to be almost like you need a decompress period where you walk away and cool the fuck off.
Yeah.
Before you say something really hurtful.
But see, I think that's a healthy boundary. When my husband and I first met, we really took a long time in our courtship because we both didn't want to make a mistake again with a relationship. I was like, listen, I'm fine being alone for the rest of my life. So if I'm going to do this, I need to know everything about you. We need to talk about everything, put it all out there, and let's see what we accept about each other and what we don't. Like, where can we each give and take and whatever. And, one of our biggest things was both of us had been cursed out, verbally abused, emotionally abused, kind of put through the ringer with stuff. And we both agreed. There is no name calling. I was like, there is absolutely no name calling whatsoever. I don't fucking care how mad you get. You better walk away. I will walk away. I promise I will never call you a name. Like, we just don't do it. No name calling. The second one was, there's no raising your voice. There's no yelling at each other. There's not this back and forth screaming. There's not stomping through the house. There's not slamming doors. It's like, we can get really fucking mad. That's okay. But one of us has to decide that we're leaving, and the other one, the last one, the third one, you can't stop somebody from leaving when they're mad. That is not allowed. You get to let them leave mad, and they will come back. Yeah. So why did we start this again?
Yeah, because it was
resentment.
Yeah,
resentment. So I think that you talk about all that shit up front about what you can and can't handle. And if you didn't discuss it, or if something changes, you have to readdress that boundary and be like, hey, we said we weren't going to name call. Like, this is one of the things. We don't want to do this to each other. We don't want to scar that, because words are very powerful, which is why that's what spells are. They're the words that we speak into the universe to manifest things to happen. So when somebody's saying words, it's like, that's basically a spell coming at you. So no name calling. And then yelling is just that extra force of emotion to really dagger that word into you, whatever the word is, whatever the words are. Mm-hmm. And so, making sure that if it does happen, that you sit and talk about it and be like, okay, one of the people, whoever yelled, there's got to be an admission to, yep, I did say I wasn't going to do this. I did do it. Here's how I felt in the moment. I got really angry. I need to recognize my emotions, and when I'm angry, and say, I know we're in the middle of this, but I got to take a break because I'm about to explode and it will not be good. And then the other person gets to let them leave. Even if you don't want to be done talking about it. You're like, no, stay here. Talk to me. I want to finish this.
We get like that too.
No. Yeah. Who doesn't get like that? Like, finish the damn conversation.
So it's about, respecting, processing your feelings.
Processing.
Yeah.
It
reaffirms your commitment.
Taking the time.
Self-respect.
Yeah.
Self-respect for yourself, and respect for them, and respect for the relationship.
Yeah.
So
whatever the relationship is.
That is, Jamie's doing such a nice job. This is where I stop.
Well, you head up the meeting, so she's going to have to put, it looks like a Ouija board, kind of.
Yeah, you can't see it yet. I'll have to work some more on it, and then
you'll have to get your
I don't know, maybe I'll hang it on the wall so the next meeting
everybody
can see it.
Yeah, next week we're doing a super fun one for, the Christmas season, holiday, Yule, whatever you want to call it. Don't pin yourself down to, only using witch words just
Merry
because you're a witch.
Witchmas.
Yeah, so our next live is called Merry Witchmas. I was like, I'm sure somebody's used that before, but that's just what I felt like calling it. We want to tell you guys, like, the 10, it's 10, right?
20?
Is it 20? God damn, we do a lot.
I don't know.
It's either 10 or 20.
10 or 20. It's a gift.
It's a gift buying thing. We're going to list all of the links, because a lot of the stuff that I've got for my own practice, I buy from Amazon, but I'm like, is it adjudicating? Is that the right word? It's like, I buy from a seller. I'm like, is this really it? Is this really, like, is it a real thing? Is it a scam? Is it something like and finding out if it's a good tool and what works. And I've been buying off of Amazon since I was in the Navy. I mean, they used to deliver shit to the ship. So I've been buying off Amazon for like 20 years now, even when it was just music and books. But we want to give you guys places to buy stuff no matter where you live. If you want to buy yourself gifts, if you have witchy friends or family members that you want to buy gifts for, and these are things that you use in your practice, we listed them in the description of the live. So if you want to see them, all the resources will be there. We'll be showing them to you and like why we like them and what just all that.
Because everything that we bought isn't great, but so the things we're going to show you are things that we really like and would recommend as a good gift if you're looking for something for yourself or a witchy friend, or eventually to add to your collection for your birthday next year.
I just thought about it. It's gonna be like the Home Shopping Network, but for witches when we do it. I just got that image in my head. So my sign is not quite finished.
It looks good though.
Yeah, I want really more flowers, more butterflies, more earthy stuff. I've got moss that I'm gonna end up pinning up on here somewhere. Where's my moss? My whole theme is like more like a dark cottage witch. So that is the way that I make my stuff. So there's a sign. There's a decor that you can put your own.
I think this is a really good place. Like if you're looking to channel some, I did mine upside down.
We can switch it. Did I do mine upside down? No, I didn't. Okay. Oh God. What? That might be really funny hung upside down too. I don't know.
The hooks are.
It is. The hooks are going the other way.
The hooks are here. I'll have to move them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that might
you
be
just
funny to do
unscrew 'em
that. Yeah,
upside down.
That might be funny. You bought these at Hobby Lobby or something?
Yeah, Hobby Lobby.
For what, $10?
No,
$12?
you know they always do like 40 or 50% off of everything.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah,
it's
do
like
some
$10.
crafts, man. If you're feeling crazy, start gathering craft stuff.
If you're feeling out of sorts,
if you're feeling like if your
crazy.
energy's off, a good thing to do to channel and get to reground, I feel, besides like going for a walk in nature.
Yeah.
And it's dark now, so walking's limited to how many hours a day?
What? Why is it limited? We can't go outside at night as women. Oh my, another thing.
Well,
yeah.
you can't really go to the park in the dark.
Dark
But anyway, crafting is just a really good. I'm finding it a really good way to.
It's
I think
therapy.
it is therapy.
It's therapy.
It's witch therapy.
It's witch therapy. That's what we have going on here.
All right, you guys. Thank you for being here with us tonight. We love you all so much.
Fun. Thank you for all of your comments.
Thank you all of your comments. You guys are so funny.
Oh my gosh.
You're awesome, and we love you.
Yes.
And we hope to see you next week.
Next week for the Merry Witchmas gift something. I forgot what I named it. All right. Have a good week, you guys.
Love you.
Bye.